Ice roads. Seasonal highways across frozen lakes. The plowed pathways are one of the most visible signs of human adaptability in colder climates. In most cases, they're used for the delivery of supplies. This road, however, was necessary for another reason. The northwest angle is the chimney that juts upward on the Minnesota-Canadian border. There was a mapping error after the 1783 Treaty of Paris, and the result is the northernmost part of the contiguous United States, and arguably the most unique fishing destination in the state. The majority of travelers follow a route that goes from Warroad, Minnesota, into Manitoba, Canada, then back into the United States at the northwest angle. But in 2020, that became a problem.
The border will not open in 2020.
The only way to get across would be to go across 40 miles of big open water of Lake Lewis.
U.S. and Canadian borders back in March.
My May, June, July sales tax that I collected, all combined, all 3 months put together, was less than $3. And this is for a business that's, we've been here like 85 years. I mean, we're as established as it gets. I want Americans to be able to go to America, right?
Paul Colson is a third-generation owner of Jake's Northwest Angle.
Well, Jake, my grandfather, he came up here in 1919. He was originally from Clearwater, Kansas. He homesteaded up here. He was actually on his way to Alaska. Heard you could homestead on the Angle.
Paul was raised here and wanted to raise his kids here.
I did. I look back at my youth, the opportunities I had as a boy, and my wife and I, we took a little break when we got married, ran up to Alaska, thought about it, talked about it, and decided to come back here just to raise a family.
It's this reason that resorts that normally engage in some healthy competition banded together to build the ice road.
And the camaraderie, it brought everybody together with a common purpose, and that was to somehow get business going in spite of the U.S.-Canadian border being closed.
Deborah Kellerman, along with her husband Tony, own Angle Inn Lodge on Oak Island. They purchased a broken-down business with plans to rebuild it and sell within 2 years.
A couple years, we were going to flip it and turn it, and we just haven't figured out what 2 years that's going to be now, 25 years later. Raised our kids here. It was a good environment.
It was a little different. Even just having to take a boat 10 miles to see my friends. And, I can look back on that now and know that I had a really cool experience that not many kids can say they had.
Because of its unique location, the Northwest Angle has had to overcome numerous obstacles when it comes to travel.
A lot of people came up here like in the 30s, during the Depression, because you could actually eat, right? And that's where the bar was. I will say this, it was a hell of a lot easier getting to the Angle back in the day, because there were ferry boats, Burt Steele, Resolute, all these boats that were plying the lake, and we had a big dock out here. And so back then, it was easier to come to the Angle. There's actually a flying service, and now there isn't flying service because the insurance is too high, so they went out of business, and there's no boats going across the lake. They're out of business.
Paul's grandpa Jake and some of the other locals realized they needed a road to get into the Angle, so they pooled their money and resources and built a gravel road that connected to a highway in Canada.
Guys were kicking it around, much like this ice road. My grandpa Jake, Joe Risser, neighbor next door, and a Comstock, I can't remember his first name, they just said, you know what, let's put a road in, because the county, nobody was moving on the county state side of it, and so they did. They went down to Red Lake, had a meeting with them about crossing land. They gave them an easement. We still have the ledgers about people donating money to put the road in. I've still got all that stuff. So it was a community effort, and they just scraped up what equipment they had and started putting a road in.
You can draw parallels between the road built years ago and the ice road built this year.
We all ponied in money at the beginning to be able to pay for the preliminary building, the plowing, any breakdowns of equipment.
To survive at the Northwest Angle, most businesses cater to tourism, particularly those that come for the fishing.
I guess we're in the walleye capital of the world, so fishing is probably the number one. but just tourism in general, people coming to see the sights and, you know, come to Lake of the Woods.
Not only did the businesses come together to help each other survive, but loyal customers came to the angle to support them as well.
We come from a small community, and we know how small businesses work, and they're small, and they need the help from all over.
There's a lot of fish up here, so you probably will catch some small ones with potentials to catch big ones too, but I like eating walleyes, so I'm looking for some eaters.
It's probably one of the better places in Lake of the Woods to fish because you're so close to the fishing, and hospitality is great.
We fish primarily on structure instead of mud flats, and as a result, the schools of fish tend to hang, and your likelihood of being able to catch your limit or catch your supper or catch a catch and release, a trophy, is high.
While you come for the fishing, ultimately it's the experience you remember and the relationships you create while you're there.
Oh, yeah. It's more of the atmosphere of the people you're with and who you're spending your time with. The fishing's a second part of it.
The border closure also affected private cabin owners.
You know, not being able to go south was more of an inconvenience and not a hardship. But for the resort owners, not being able to have people come from the south is truly a hardship. And so that ice road, you know, whoever thought of it and the people that executed plowing it and constructing it was a genius idea.
You know, your initial reaction is, really? An ice road? I mean, I already have one to the island, and that's 10 miles, and it's pretty spendy. And you're talking 22 to 30 miles of road that you need to build and maintain, and we're a small population, and you know, you wonder whether or not it really will happen.
Creating the ice road was a long road.
We still had open water at the entrance of the road January, the first week in January, so you couldn't open then.
Opening it up wasn't that much fun. There was 4 or 5 or 6 trucks out here for 7 days just trying to get it opened up for the 14 miles that we do. And that was breakdowns every day. And
Despite some fairer conditions for the road, the mild winter means more pressure ridges and cracks to repair.
usually when the temperature changes, the ice shifts and then it blows the crack up. You'll have to either move it or just chop it down.
The first 8 miles is actually a road already maintained by Spring Steel Resort near Warroad. They allowed the guest ice road to connect to their road at Whiskey Flats.
I remember growing up and taking our boats up to go visit those resorts and go see that part of the lake and thinking how awesome it was. And you know, it'd really be sad to lose that. You know, whether you're a competitor or not, it's such a neat part of the lake, and it wasn't a hard decision for us to want to help and do what we can to get people up there.
The road then travels another 14 miles north towards the angle before making landfall and traveling along the border on a snowmobile trail. The last 8 miles is a picturesque jaunt through tall pines and swampy lowlands. Before arriving at Jim's Corner and traveling to Angle Inlet along the only gravel road in the area. As spring arrives and the big lake reclaims the road that once carried anglers north, business owners look back on the decision that kept them afloat.
You know, I've thought about it a lot. If Herb Brooks had his miracle on ice, the Northwest Angle has now had their miracle on ice. It opened the door, and every resort up here has been very happy to see guests again, have people in their camps, do their businesses, and be able to have a little bit of income that they lost over the summer, but at least to feel normal again.
It gave us a chance. That's what it gave us, right? I was down, 87% for the summer. This winter, I'm thinking I'm gonna run about 1/3 of our normal volume, just because we're gonna lose some of March here. It's warming up, so just with the shortened season, yeah, if we're doing 1/3, but 1/3 is a heck of a lot better than 13%.
As of now, nobody knows what the future holds. But if the border doesn't open up back soon, more tough decisions will have to be made by those that reside and work at the Northwest Angle.
So we have to find some way forward so we can survive. And I guess, yeah, we'll do whatever it takes, I guess.